You know what I see in every single divorce case that comes across my desk? It's not cheating. It's not money problems. It's not meddling in-laws or irreconcilable differences. It's something far more subtle, far more deadly, and it's happening in your relationship right now as you watch this video. In 25 years of destroying marriages in courtrooms, yes, destroying, because when you end up in my office, it's already too late. I've discovered there's one fatal mistake that silently devours relationships from the inside out. And here's the terrifying part. You don't even realize you're making it until the day one of you says, "I don't love you anymore." If you want to discover what this mistake is before it's too late for your relationship, hit that like button now and stick around until the end. Because what I'm about to reveal could save your marriage, or at least prepare you for when it ends. And trust me, after seeing over 1,000 couples tear each other apart in my conference room, I know exactly how these stories end. The question is, do you want to change yours before you become another statistic? The deadly mistake. No one sees coming here's the truth nobody wants to hear. The biggest destroyer of relationships isn't what you do to each other. It's what you stop doing for each other. And it starts with something seemingly harmless that every couple does without realizing it. The silence that kills. You know what the difference is between a couple in love and a couple getting divorced? It's not love. You think people who get divorced never loved each other? Of course they did. The real difference is frighteningly simple. They stopped talking. But wait, you're probably thinking, we talk every day. We discuss work, the kids, the bills. Wrong. That's not talking. That's logistics. That's running a business called Our Family. But when was the last time you really talked? When was the last time you looked into your partner's eyes and said something that actually mattered? Something that went beyond, "Can you pick up the kids today?" Or, "I forgot to tell you, my mother's coming for dinner Sunday." Let me paint you a picture of what real communication looks like versus the administrative bullshit most couples call talking, administrative communication. Did you pay the electric bill? Well, soccer practice is at 4 p.m. tomorrow. We need to buy groceries. Your mom called? The car needs an oil change. Real communication. I felt disconnected from you this week, and I miss feeling close. That comment you made about my cooking really hurt my feelings. I've been thinking about our future, and I'm excited about where we're going. I need more physical affection from you. I feel like we're becoming roommates instead of lovers. See the difference? One is managing a household. The other is nurturing a relationship. And here's the kicker. Most couples spend 90% of their talking time on administrative stuff and wonder why they feel like strangers. The two fundamental reasons that destroy everything after. Decades of watching relationships disintegrate right in front of me. I've identified that all, and I mean all, marriages fail for exactly two reasons. Reason one, you don't know what you want most. People get married without having the slightest clue what they actually expect from a relationship. They know they want to be happy, they want to feel loved, but ask them specifically what that means, and you'll hear a bunch of generic nonsense. Do you want a partner who challenges you intellectually or someone who agrees with you? Do you want someone ambitious who works 60 hours a week or someone who's always available for the family? Do you want burning passion or comfortable stability? Do you want someone who pushes you to grow or someone who accepts you exactly as you are? The answer to all these questions should be crystal clear before marriage, but for 90% of my clients, it never was. They entered their relationship on autopilot, following the social script, dating, engagement, marriage, kids, happily ever after. Except they didn't live happily ever after. Here's what happens when you don't know what you want. You end up disappointed by things you never communicated. You resent your partner for not being something you never told them you needed. You create expectations in your head and then get angry when reality doesn't match your fantasy. I had a client once who was furious that her husband worked late every night. When I asked her if she'd ever told him she wanted him home for dinner, she said, "I shouldn't have to tell him. He should just know." Should he? Really? Because here's the thing. He thought he was being a good provider by working hard. She thought he was being a neglectful husband by working late. Neither was wrong, but they were operating from completely different definitions of what a good spouse looks like. Reason two. You can't express what you want even if you've miraculously figured out what you want. Rare. Most people are pathetic at communicating their real needs. And you know why? Because you're scared. Scared of seeming needy. Scared of seeming demanding. Scared of ruining the mood. Scared of finding out that your partner can't or won't give you what you need. So you stay silent, hoping that magically the other person will guess what you want. Spoiler alert, nobody's psychic. Your partner isn't going to figure out that you feel neglected when they're on their phone during dinner. They're not going to discover on their own that you need more physical intimacy. They're not going to realize that you feel disrespected when they correct you in front of friends. And here's the really fucked up part. Your silence doesn't protect your relationship. It kills it, because when you don't express your needs, one of two things happens. Your needs don't get met, and you become resentful. You try to meet your needs somewhere else. Both paths lead to divorce court, the anatomy of relationship. Death Let Me show you exactly how a relationship dies in silence. It's a process that happens in stages, and you might be in any one of them right now. Stage 1. The emotional drift it starts subtly. You still love each other, still have sex, still go out together, but something has shifted. The conversations get more surface level. You start keeping small secrets, not big secrets, just things that don't seem worth sharing. She doesn't mention that her boss yelled at her at work because he has enough problems already. He doesn't bring up that he felt humiliated when she corrected him in front of friends because it'll just create unnecessary drama. These aren't major betrayals. They're tiny withholdings, but they add up because every time you choose not to share something real with your partner, you're choosing to share your inner life with someone else or no one at all. Stage 2. The dangerous comfort zone. You get used to the superficiality. Actually, you start to prefer it. It's easier, less confrontational. You develop a social routine that works. Work, home, TV, bed. Weekends with friends or family. Vacation once a year. From the outside, you look like a happy couple. From the inside, you're becoming strangers who share a mortgage. You have conversations about everything except what matters. You plan vacations, but never talk about your dreams. You discuss the kids' schedules, but never share your fears. You coordinate social events, but never reveal your deepest thoughts. Stage 3. The search for external connections. Since you're not finding emotional intimacy at home, you start looking elsewhere. Not necessarily a physical affair. It could be a coworker who really gets you, a friend who always listens, an ex who shows up on social media. You start sharing with these people what you no longer share with each other. And every time you do this, you're stealing intimacy from your primary relationship. This is where emotional affairs begin. Not with grand romantic gestures, but with the simple human need for connection, finding an outlet outside your marriage. You tell your gym buddy about your work stress instead of your spouse. You vent to your sister about your marriage problems instead of your husband. You share your dreams with your book club instead of your wife. Stage 4. The silent contempt. There's where things get ugly. You start getting irritated by small things you used to ignore. The way he chews, the way she arranges the kitchen, the sound he makes when he's sleeping. This isn't about chewing or breathing. This is about accumulated resentment that has nowhere to go. Because you've stopped communicating real feelings, you develop what I call small irritation syndrome. Everything they do annoys you because you're carrying around unexpressed anger, unmet needs, and unresolved conflicts. But instead of addressing the real issues, you focus on the stupid stuff because it feels safer. Stage 5. The nuclear explosion. One day, someone drops the bomb, I don't love you anymore, or I want a divorce. And the other person is in complete shock because it came out of nowhere. It didn't come out of nowhere. You just weren't paying attention to the warning signs because you stopped really seeing each other years ago. The warning signs you're ignoring now. I'm going to teach you to identify when communication in your relationship is dying. These are the signs I see in every case that comes to me. If you recognize 3 or more, you better act fast. Warning, sign 1, you're living in roommate mode. You split the bills, split the household responsibilities, split the bed, but you don't share your emotional life anymore. You're efficient apartment mates, not passionate partners. Here's the test. When was the last time you told your partner something about yourself that they didn't already know? When did you last share a fear, a dream, an insecurity, an excitement? If you can't remember, you're in roommate mode. Warning, sign 2. Conversations are purely transactional. Can you pick up milk on the way home? Remember, we have dinner at your parents' Saturday? The kids need to go to the dentist. When was the last time you had a conversation that didn't have a practical agenda? I tell my clients, if an efficiency expert could optimize your conversations, you're in trouble. Real couples have inefficient conversations. They talk about random stuff, share weird thoughts, tell pointless stories. If every conversation serves a purpose, you've lost intimacy. Warning sign 3. You stop fighting. This might sound weird, but couples who stop fighting are in mortal danger. Not fighting means you've stopped caring enough to fight for the relationship. It means you're investing emotional energy somewhere else. Healthy couples fight. They disagree, they argue, they work through conflicts. Dead couples keep the peace because peace is easier than caring. Warning sign 4. The deadly fine. How was your day? Fine. How are you feeling? Fine. Any problems? Nope. Everything's fine. If fine has become the default answer in your house, you're building a wall of silence that will destroy everything. Fine is relationship code for I don't trust you enough to tell you how I really feel, or I don't think you care enough to handle the real answer or warning. Sign 5. You pretend problems don't exist. That fight about money you had last month, still not resolved, just swept under the rug. That hurtful comment he made in front of your friends. You got over it without ever talking about it. These issues don't disappear because you ignore them. They sit there, accumulating, creating resentment, until one day they explode in a way that destroys everything. Warning sign 6. You share real stuff with everyone except your partner. You tell your best friend about your work stress, your mom about your marriage concerns, your sister about your health fears, but you tell your spouse about the grocery list and the broken garage door. If other people know more about your inner life than your partner does, your relationship is already in critical condition. Warning, sign 7. You've stopped being curious about each other. When did you last ask your partner a question you didn't know the answer to? When did you last discover something new about them? If you think you know everything there is to know about your spouse, you've stopped paying attention. People change constantly. If you're not curious about who your partner is becoming, you're falling in love with a memory instead of staying in love with a real person. The solution. How to break the silence before it's too late. Now comes the part that could save your relationship. But I'm warning you up front. This is going to be uncomfortable. If you want an easy, painless solution, stop watching now and go back to Instagram. Real relationships require real work. Solution 1. The State of the Union conversation once a month. Put it in your calendar like an important business meeting. You're going to sit down and have an honest conversation about how you're feeling in the relationship. Not about the kids, not about the bills, about you two. How you're feeling loved, respected, desired, heard, what's working and what isn't. But that's going to be weird, forced. Of course it will be. At first, all important skills are weird. You think riding a bike wasn't weird the first time? Here's the structure. What I appreciate about us this month, what I'm struggling with in our relationship, what I need more of from you, what I want to give more of to you. And one thing I want us to work on together, this isn't a bitch session. This is maintenance. You service your car regularly to keep it running. Why wouldn't you service your relationship? Solution 2, the 5-minute rule. Every day, 5 minutes of real conversation. No phones, no TV, no distractions. 5 minutes where you talk about something that isn't family logistics. How was your day, really? What made you happy? What worried you? What are you thinking about? 5 minutes might seem like nothing, but it's more real conversation than most couples have in a week. And here's the key. You have to go first. Don't wait for your partner to start sharing. You start. Vulnerability is contagious. Solution 3, the magic. Learn this phrase by heart. I hear you. Not you're right or you're wrong. Simply, I hear you. Most couple fights aren't about who's right. They're about who feels heard. When someone feels truly heard, 80% of the conflict disappears. But here's what I hear you really means. I'm listening to understand, not to respond. I'm not preparing my defense while you talk. I'm not waiting for my turn to speak. I care about your experience, even if I disagree with it. Solution 4, the dangerous question. Once a week, one of you asks, is there anything you want to tell me but you're afraid to say? And then you shut up and listen to the answer without defending, attacking, or minimizing. This is going to be hard. You're going to hear things you don't want to hear, but it's better to hear it and have a chance to fix it than not hear it and find out in divorce court. Solution F5, the brutal transparency agreement. You make a pact for 1 month. You're going to say everything you think and feel, even if it's uncomfortable. No punishments, no retaliation, no using it against each other later. I felt ignored when you were on your phone during dinner. I feel disrespected when you correct me in front of others. I miss having more physical intimacy. I feel overwhelmed with household responsibilities. It's going to be a difficult month, but it might be the month that saves your marriage. Solution 6, the curiosity. Practice. Every week, ask your partner a question you've never asked before. Not about logistics, about them as a person. What's a dream you've never told me about? What's your biggest fear right now? What made you feel most alive this week? If you could change one thing about our relationship, what would it be? Stay curious about the person you married. They're not the same person they were when you met them, and neither are you. The deadly mistakes that will sabotage everything, now that you know how to break the silence. Let me warn you about the mistakes that will sabotage all your efforts. Mistake 1. Trying to win the conversation. The goal isn't to prove you're right. The goal is to understand each other's perspective and find a solution that works for both of you. Every time you turn a conversation into a competition, you both lose. Remember, you're not adversaries, you're teammates. The problem is the enemy, not each other. Mistake. 2. Using information as weapons. If he tells you he feels insecure at work, you can't throw that back in his face during the next fight. If she admits she feels unattractive, you can't use that as ammunition when you're angry. Breaking this kind of trust is like breaking a crystal vase. You can glue the pieces back together, but the cracks will always be there. Mistake. 3. Expecting instant changes. You spent years building patterns of silence. It's not going to be one conversation that fixes everything. Be patient with the process, and more importantly, be patient with your partner. Change is slow, messy, and non-linear. There will be setbacks. There will be old patterns creeping back in. That's normal. Mistake. 4. Giving up at the first difficulty. The first time you try to have a real conversation and it ends in a fight, don't assume it doesn't work. It means you're out of practice. Keep trying. It's like going to the gym after years of being sedentary. The first workout is going to hurt. That doesn't mean exercise doesn't work. Mistake. 5. Doing this alone. If you're watching this thinking, I'm going to implement all these techniques, stop right there. Relationships are a two-person job. If only one person is trying, it won't work. You need to decide together that you want to save what you have. The brutal truth about love and communication. Here's a truth nobody wants to hear. Love isn't enough. I see people who love each other deeply destroying themselves in courtrooms because they don't know how to communicate. Love is the fuel of the relationship, but communication is the engine. You can have all the fuel in the world, but if the engine is broken, you're not going anywhere. The good news? Communication is a skill that can be learned. The bad news? Most people prefer to believe in the myth that if you really love each other, communication happens naturally. It doesn't. Happy couples aren't happy by accident. They worked for it. They learned to communicate, to resolve conflicts, to keep emotional connection alive, even when life tries to tear them apart. Think about it. You wouldn't expect to be good at playing piano without practice. You wouldn't expect to run a marathon without training. But somehow, we expect to maintain a healthy marriage without learning any relationship skills. It's insane. The real cost of silence lit. Let me tell you what the real cost is of doing nothing. It's not just divorce, although statistically, you have a 50% chance of ending up there. The real cost is living an entire lifetime with someone you love but can't connect with. It's waking up every day next to a stranger. It's raising children in a house where there's no real emotional intimacy. It's reaching 65 and realizing you lost decades of opportunity to have an extraordinary relationship because you were afraid to have difficult conversations. It's watching your children repeat the same patterns because they learned from you that relationships are about tolerating each other, not growing together. I've seen men in their 70s crying in my office because they realized they never really knew their wife of 50 years. I've seen women discover during divorce proceedings that their husband had dreams and fears they'd never heard about. Don't let that be your story. The psychology behind the silence here is what most people don't understand about why couples stop communicating. It's not laziness or lack of love. It's fear and conditioning. The fear factor. We stop talking because we're afraid of what we might discover. What if my partner doesn't want the same things I do? What if they think my dreams are stupid? What if they can't give me what I need? What if they judge me for my fears? So we maintain the illusion of compatibility by keeping conversations surface level. We protect the relationship by not really knowing each other. It's like living in a house with beautiful wallpaper covering rotten walls. The conditioning factor? Most of us learned relationship skills from our parents. And let's be honest, most of our parents weren't exactly relationship experts. They might have stayed married, but were they happy? Did they communicate well? Did they resolve conflicts in healthy ways? We inherit their patterns without questioning them. If your parents dealt with problems by avoiding them, guess what you do? If they fought by attacking each other's character instead of addressing the issue, that's your template. Breaking generational patterns requires conscious effort. It requires learning skills your parents never taught you. The science of connection. Here's something fascinating. Neuroscience research shows that emotional attunement between partners actually synchronizes their brain patterns. When couples are emotionally connected, their nervous systems literally coordinate with each other. But when communication breaks down, this synchronization is lost. You become strangers, not just emotionally, but neurologically. Your brains stop talking to each other the way they used to. The good news is that this synchronization can be restored through intentional connection practices. The conversations I'm teaching you aren't just relationship advice, they're brain training. When professional help is needed, sometimes the damage is too deep for DIY repair. Here are the signs you need professional help. Red flag. 1. Contemptive, you or your partner regularly show contempt. Eye-rolling, name-calling, character attacks. You need intervention. Contempt is relationship poison. It kills love faster than almost anything else. Red flag 2, stonewalling. If one person completely shuts down during conflicts, walks away, gives silent treatment, refuses to engage, professional help is necessary. Stonewalling is emotional abandonment. Red flag 3, betrayal trauma. If there's been infidelity, financial deception, or other major betrayals, you need more than conversation techniques. You need trauma recovery. Red flag 4, addiction. If substance abuse, gambling, porn addiction, or other compulsive behaviors are involved, those need to be addressed before relationship work can be effective. But here's the thing. Even if you need professional help, the communication skills I'm teaching you are still essential. A therapist can't do the work for you. They can guide you, but you still have to learn to talk to each other. The choice you need to make? Nowhere's the reality. Your relationship is heading to one of two places. Either you're going to grow together or you're going to grow apart. There's no middle ground. There's no staying the same. Life is going to keep changing you, challenging you, testing you. The only question is, are you going to face these changes as a team or as adversaries? If you choose to be a team, that means work. It means uncomfortable conversations. It means vulnerability. It means admitting when you're wrong and forgiving when they are. If you choose to be adversaries, it's just a matter of time before one of you gives up and looks for connection elsewhere. The ultimate test. Here's a simple test to see if your relationship is in danger. Answer these questions honestly. When did you last tell your partner something about yourself they didn't know? When did you last ask them a question you were genuinely curious about? When did you last have a conversation that had no practical purpose? When did you last share a fear or insecurity with them? When did you last tell them specifically what you need from them? If you're struggling to answer any of these questions, your relationship is running on autopilot. And autopilot relationships eventually crash. The final warning. Here's my final piece of advice, and I want you to listen carefully. The time to fix this is now, not tomorrow, not next week, not when things calm down. Relationships don't die overnight. They die slowly, quietly, while two people who love each other become strangers sharing a bed, but they can also be saved. I've seen couples who were 99% of the way to divorce reconnect and build something even stronger than they had before. The difference was that they stopped pretending everything was fine and started doing the real work. The question is, are you willing to do that work? Or do you prefer to stay on autopilot until it's too late? I make money when relationships fail, but I'd rather have fewer clients and more happy couples. The choice is yours. Every relationship has an expiration date. The only question is whether that date is determined by death or by giving up. Which one will it be for you? Call to action. Dark engagement. If this video made you think about your own relationship, hit that like button now. And here's my challenge for you. In the comments, tell me one thing you wish you could say to your partner but you're afraid to. Don't use names, don't give details. Just that one thing that's stuck in your throat. Sometimes writing it down is the first step to saying it out loud. And if you recognized your relationship in this video, send it to your partner. Yes, it's going to be awkward. Yes, it might lead to a difficult conversation, but difficult conversations are better than deadly silence. Remember, I make money when relationships fail, but I'd rather help you avoid my office altogether. What are you going to choose? The silence that kills or the conversation that saves? Your answer will determine whether you grow together or grow apart. And the time to decide is right now. The clock is ticking. Your relationship is changing every day, with or without your conscious participation. The question is, will you take control of that change, or will you let it control you? Make the choice. Have the conversation. Save what you can still save, or don't. And I'll see you in my office eventually. The choice is yours. But whatever you choose it consciously. Your future self is depending on the decision you make right now. Hit that like button if this opened your eyes. Drop a comment if you're ready to stop living in silence. And subscribe if you want more brutal truths about relationships, because there's a lot more where this came from. The question isn't whether your relationship will face challenges. It will. The question is whether you'll face them together or apart. Everything depends on the choice you make in the next 24 hours. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait for things to get easier. Don't wait for your partner to go first. Start the conversation that could save everything, or keep the silence that will destroy it. The choice is yours. Make it count.